What up, YouTube? This is Steven Talbot. This is Tabby Reacts. Today we're going to talk about GameStop pretty much getting into the retro gaming business. And so, pretty much a couple of days ago, GameStop gave an announcement to IGN, a couple of different news agencies, saying now that GameStop is pretty much going to accept all retro gaming games. Like they're going to accept all retro gaming trade-in. So you can trade in game consoles, controllers. You can trade in games. You pretty much can trade in the works. Which is real fascinating. If you paid attention to GameStop kind of over the past, pretty much over a year, like it was pretty much like a year almost today, or it's pretty much a year that basically GameStop did a program where they just basically tried to test this out. They did a couple of stores in Georgia pretty much, or kind of in the South pretty much, and try to see if anybody would trade in game systems. And I think it apparently worked enough to allow it to happen to now, where pretty much it will happen all over, and pretty much every GameStop in the United States, you can pretty much trade in all game systems. That's what I've been kind of told. I think it's kind of cool. I think some of the backlash I've heard from like Destructoid is they're giving really low prices in terms of trade-ins, and so like for as a GameStop GameStop goer, pretty much. You know that GameStop pretty much is going to give you low prices for games, and this has been happening for a very long time. And if you pay attention to the GameStop retro stuff, like they are pretty much giving pretty low prices. Like what's interesting, if you pay attention to like Super Nintendo games or N64 games, is like they have really kept their price. Like they're really expensive games. Like a lot of N64 games go for $60 on eBay, $45 in shops and stuff like that. And so like they have really kept their price. And so GameStop is pretty much have given really cheap prices in terms of trading in, which is not particularly great. For me, like as a retro game collector, a guy who really likes collecting retro games, I think what was really cool about this entire affair is like if you go to pretty much GameStop's site, if you go to GameStop.com, they have like a retro gaming type area where you can they can go buy consoles. They do Super Nintendo, Saturn, Dreamcast, you name it, they have it. And what's kind of cool is you can buy old school game systems. Like for instance, like you can go buy the Genesis console for about $38. And so like they're selling really cheap, a lot of consoles for really cheap, which is really awesome. So people who want to really build out their retro gaming libraries, they can go to that site and get it. And also what's been really awesome is I was looking at kind of Saturn games, for instance, which are really hard to find. Like you cannot really go to the average place to find a Saturn game. Like you can't really go to like a thrift store or a Goodwill and find a Saturn game. You pretty much have to go to like a retro gaming type store to find those type of games. But they have it on their website, and they're selling those for like $10 to $15. And so I think what's really cool for like the retro gamer collectors who already have the systems in place is a great way of getting really cheap games for those things. Otherwise, those games will be really expensive. Like if you have ever paid attention to like Sega Saturn or a Sega Dreamcast, like those games are really expensive. Like they're $45 to $60 for the average game. Also, all you can find games are $10 to $15, and so it's great to have like at least a resource to find those games because it's really good. I think what's also cool is they're also going to sell like RF adapters, the plugins for the systems, which is really nice. It also gives a really cheap way, a really good way to buy those because like I think maybe up to this point you can go through kind of like Amazon, which for me like going through Amazon is maybe a little less trustworthy. I have a place that maybe tests those and like tries to do those, for instance. And so for me, like GameStop is a really cool in between point. So I think it's good and bad in a lot of sense because when you trade in your games, you're going to be aware because the money that they're going to give for your games is going to be really, really cheap. But it is kind of cool because if you find retro games, and you want to trade them in, that's good money that you can put into you could save up for Final Fantasy 15 or, for another console or something like that, which is kind of cool. Because up to this point, there's not been really great sources to trade in games. You can find kind of the local game store, which has probably been the easiest place, and you're pretty much relying on their prices. And so this gives you another kind of revenue to kind of trade in games. And so I think that's kind of cool at the end of the day. So guys, what are your thoughts about this? Do you really like this? Do you not like this? Comment it down below. I always like to read them. I'll comment them if you try to leave a comment. And guys, thank you for spending your time watching this, watching Tabby Reacts. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already subscribed to this channel. Tabby Reacts is pretty much a weekly type of show where I talk about the current news, or kind of talk about a given topic in the current news. So that's kind of what Tabby Reacts is. Hope you have a great day and great week. I hope you'll see you soon. All right, bye.